Ethan had always been a quiet man. In the small human colony on the remote planet of Vierlia, life was simple but harsh. The colony was built in the shadow of massive rock cliffs, surrounded by jagged mountains, strange glowing plants, and deep craters that sometimes swallowed small vehicles. The humans here had come to this planet decades ago, seeking minerals and rare resources, but life had never been easy. Most days, the settlers focused on survival, repairing machinery and keeping the colony running. Ethan was a mechanic. Not the chief engineer or the leader, just a man with steady hands and an endless curiosity for machines. He could fix anything from mining drills that had broken down mid-excavation to small hover carts that refused to move. Despite his skill, he was rarely noticed. His coworkers often joked about how quiet and ordinary he seemed, but Ethan didn't mind. Machines never argued, they never complained, and they always responded to the touch of a careful hand. One bright, cold morning, Ethan loaded his hover truck with tools and spare parts. He had heard rumors of an unusual salvage site not far from the colony, a place where strange metallic fragments were found among the rocks. Some miners said the fragments were part of an ancient alien structure, though nobody had ever confirmed it. Most people avoided the site, believing it was dangerous or cursed, but Ethan felt a spark of curiosity. There was always a mystery waiting for someone brave enough to look closer. When he arrived, the wind howled across the jagged cliffs, carrying with it the faint scent of strange minerals. Dust swirled around the abandoned crater, and shadows from the nearby rocks stretched long under the weak sun. At first, Ethan only saw broken metal and crushed machinery. He bent down to inspect a piece of shiny alloy, brushing away dirt with careful fingers. That's when he saw it. Partially buried under a pile of heavy rocks, there was something enormous, something clearly not human. It was a machine, unlike anything Ethan had seen. Its body was tall, almost towering over him, with intricate panels of metal and what seemed like alien circuits glowing faintly through cracks. Its shape reminded him of the old guardian statues from the colony's history archives, but this one was alive, or at least, it had once been alive. Ethan's heart raced. Nobody else had dared approach this area, and here he was, standing in front of a relic that could have been hundreds, maybe thousands, of years old. He knelt and ran his hand over the surface, careful not to damage anything. The metal was cold, almost lifeless, but he could sense the faint hum of residual energy. This guardian, if it truly was one, might still have a core power source hidden inside. I should tell someone, Ethan muttered to himself. He glanced back at the colony in the distance, small and quiet. Yet a strange feeling stopped him. A voice almost inside his mind seemed to whisper, "Fix me." Ethan blinked, shook his head, and smiled nervously. "I'm imagining things. Machines don't speak." But curiosity had already taken root. Ethan spent the next several hours clearing away the heavy rocks, revealing more of the Guardian. Its head was smooth, with what looked like faintly glowing eyes, currently dim. Its arms were massive, ending in strong, claw-like hands that seemed designed for both construction and protection. Its body, though damaged, retained a strange elegance. This was not just a machine, it was a creation of intelligence and perhaps purpose. Returning to the colony was not an option yet. Ethan needed to understand it first. He scanned the Guardian carefully with his portable diagnostic tool. The readouts were unusual, alien in design, but not entirely incomprehensible. He saw circuits that pulsed with energy, unknown alloys, and a strange core that seemed to be in a dormant state. The machine was incomplete, missing pieces, yet it was intact enough to be repaired. Ethan began working. He pulled spare parts from his hover truck, improvising replacements for broken components. Hours passed, and the wind grew colder. Yet Ethan worked tirelessly, driven by a mixture of curiosity, excitement, and a strange sense of duty. Every adjustment he made seemed to bring the Guardian closer to life. Tiny sparks of energy traveled across its body. Its glowing eyes flickered faintly, like a candle in a dark room. He stopped for a moment, wiping sweat and grime from his forehead. "Okay, this is bigger than anything I've ever done," he whispered. Around him, the canyon was silent except for the occasional sound of rocks shifting. Ethan's hands were steady, though his heart beat faster than usual. Something about this Guardian felt alive, even if it wasn't moving yet. By late afternoon, the Guardian's systems showed signs of stability. The hum of its core was steady, like a slow heartbeat. Ethan had never felt so connected to a machine. It wasn't just metal and circuits anymore. It had a presence, a purpose, and somehow it seemed to recognize him. Just as Ethan prepared to leave for the day, he noticed something strange. The Guardian's eyes, faintly glowing earlier, now seemed to focus on him. A low vibration hummed through the air, almost like a soft greeting. Ethan froze, unsure whether to feel fear or wonder. You're awake," he said slowly. He knew it was impossible, yet he couldn't ignore what he saw. The Guardian shifted slightly, moving its massive hand as if to reach for him, though it didn't step forward. The vibration grew stronger, resonating with the ground beneath him. Ethan realized then that this was no ordinary machine. It was a guardian, a protector, a being designed to bond with someone worthy. And for reasons he could not yet understand, it had chosen to awaken now, under his hands. The rest of the colony had no idea what he was facing. Ethan thought about calling someone, bringing engineers or scientists, but something inside him told him this had to remain between him and the Guardian, at least for now. He didn't want anyone to fear it, or worse, destroy it. That night, Ethan camped near the Guardian, studying it by the dim light of his portable lamp. Every sound of the alien wind seemed to echo through the Guardian's frame, and every movement of its body felt deliberate, intelligent. Ethan talked to it quietly, explaining what he had done, what he intended to do next. It was strange but comforting. The Guardian's faint vibrations seemed to respond to his words, as if it understood. As he drifted into a light sleep, Ethan dreamed of distant stars, glowing planets, and an endless sky. In his dream, the Guardian's eyes were bright, and it reached for him, not with claws but with a gentle gesture that promised protection. Ethan woke up at dawn, heart pounding, realizing the dream felt more real than any he had ever known. He returned to the colony for supplies but kept the Guardian's location secret. He gathered tools, advanced circuits, and energy cells, preparing for the next stage of repair. He had no idea what he was doing fully, but he felt a strange confidence. The Guardian had chosen him, and that choice brought with it a responsibility Ethan had never imagined. The following days passed quickly. Ethan worked tirelessly, improvising alien technology with human tools, learning its systems by trial and error. Every success was rewarded with a flicker of light, every failure met with silence. Yet the Guardian seemed patient, almost forgiving. In a way, it taught him as much as he taught it. Then, one evening, as the twin moons of Violia rose high in the sky, the Guardian moved. Just slightly, but enough to make Ethan jump. Its head turned toward him fully, and the low hum of its core increased in intensity. Ethan realized the impossible truth: it was no longer dormant. It was alive, aware, and it had recognized him. Ethan stepped back, awestruck. You know me," he whispered. The Guardian's eyes glowed brighter, and for the first time it stepped forward, its heavy feet sinking slightly into the rocky ground. The vibration of its steps was felt through Ethan's bones. This was a moment he would never forget. The colony had always been a place of human perseverance, of small victories in a harsh world. But now, with the Guardian awake, the possibilities expanded beyond anything Ethan had imagined. The machine that had lain buried for centuries had chosen him, a quiet, ordinary mechanic, as its companion, and neither of them would ever be the same again. For the first time, Ethan understood what people meant when they spoke of destiny. Some things were not just found or repaired. They were earned and chosen. The Guardian, standing tall against the light of the rising moons, seemed to wait for him, not as a machine, not as a tool, but as a protector and perhaps a friend. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the weight and wonder of the moment. He had no idea what lay ahead, but one thing was certain: his life had changed forever. And in the quiet of the canyon, with the wind howling through the cliffs and the colony far below, a new bond had been formed, one that could alter the fate of humans on Virlia, and perhaps beyond. Ethan could hardly believe what had happened. The Guardian was awake. It had chosen him, and now, as the sun rose over the rocky cliffs of Virlia, the reality of this strange bond began to sink in. The first few days were strange, almost magical. The Guardian remained mostly silent, but its presence was undeniable. Its massive form towered above Ethan, yet there was no threat in its movements. It followed him patiently wherever he went, its heavy steps resonating through the rocky ground. When he worked on broken machinery in the colony, the Guardian would kneel beside him, offering subtle assistance, its massive hands moving with precision, sometimes adjusting a bolt or aligning a piece of machinery faster than Ethan could. At first the colonists were frightened. Rumors spread like wildfire. "Did you see the giant machine following Ethan?" some whispered. "It looks alive. It could be dangerous." Others were curious but cautious. Ethan knew he had to protect the Guardian from human fear. He had no idea yet what it could do, but he sensed its intelligence, its understanding. Ethan tried to communicate. He would speak softly, explaining what he was doing, asking questions. Surprisingly, the Guardian seemed to respond, not in words, but through movements and vibrations. Sometimes it would nod its massive head, or its lights would flicker in patterns that felt almost like answers. Ethan realized this was more than a machine. It was a being capable of thought and understanding. As the days passed, Ethan and the Guardian became inseparable. They explored the nearby cliffs, tested repairs on mining equipment, and scavenged for rare parts. Ethan discovered that the Guardian could sense dangers that humans could not. It would stop suddenly, its glowing eyes scanning the horizon. Once, it prevented him from stepping onto a patch of thin rock that collapsed seconds later. Another time, it guided him away from a hidden sinkhole that swallowed a hover drone. Ethan began to trust it completely, and in turn, the Guardian seemed to trust him. It was a bond unlike any he had ever experienced. He had always thought of humans as fragile and limited compared to the machines and technology around them. But this bond made him realize that humans had something unique: intuition, courage, empathy. The Guardian had chosen him because of these qualities, not just his skill with tools. One evening, as Ethan and the Guardian worked near the colony's main building, an urgent alarm rang out. The colony's sensors had detected movement in the surrounding cliffs, unusual, rapid movement that could not be explained by wildlife. Ethan's heart pounded. He had learned to rely on the Guardian, but he had no idea what threat awaited them. The first signs came quickly. From the jagged shadows of the cliffs, a group of scavenger drones appeared. They were sleek, fast, and designed for destruction. They had been abandoned by a distant alien faction, but their programming remained to seek valuable resources and eliminate threats. For the colonists, these drones could destroy everything. Ethan froze, but the Guardian moved instantly. Its glowing eyes flared, and it raised its massive arms. The air vibrated as it stepped forward, standing between Ethan and the approaching drones. The machines fired energy beams, but the Guardian blocked them effortlessly, its metallic body shimmering with a protective energy shield that Ethan hadn't even noticed before. For the first time, Ethan saw the full power of the being he had repaired. It was not just a machine or protector. It was a force of nature, capable of defending the humans from almost any threat. Yet it waited for Ethan's command, showing that it trusted him completely. "Follow me," Ethan whispered, unsure if it would understand. The Guardian nodded slightly and moved ahead, leading him to a safer vantage point. From there, Ethan could see the full scale of the threat. The drones were intelligent, coordinating attacks, but the Guardian anticipated every move. It grabbed one drone and smashed it against the rocks with incredible strength, while deflecting attacks from others with its arms. Sparks flew, energy beams collided, and the sky glowed with the battle. Ethan realized something important. He was not powerless. With the Guardian by his side, he could act strategically. He shouted directions, guiding the Guardian to protect vital colony structures and prevent damage. For the first time, he felt like a leader. Humans may have been fragile alone, but with intelligence, courage, and the right allies, they could overcome almost any challenge. The fight lasted hours, but by the end, the scavenger drones retreated. The Guardian, standing tall and unscathed, scanned the area one last time before turning to Ethan. Its lights flickered warmly, almost as if it were smiling. Ethan approached it, exhausted but exhilarated. He had never felt more alive. The colonists began to gather, witnessing the aftermath. Many approached cautiously, their fear replaced with awe. "That thing saved us," one elder muttered. "And Ethan, he led it." The recognition of humanity's courage and intelligence spread quickly. Ethan had always been quiet, unassuming, but now everyone saw him differently. Over the next few days, life in the colony began to change. The Guardian stayed close, helping with repairs, construction, and defense. Ethan taught the colonists how to work alongside it, slowly building trust between humans and their alien protector. The Guardian seemed to enjoy the company, responding to their words and even imitating simple gestures. But not everything was safe. Strange tremors began shaking the cliffs, and the glowing plants around the colony reacted unpredictably. Ethan realized that the Guardian's presence might have triggered something in the planet, or perhaps it was sensing another distant threat approaching. Either way, he knew they had to prepare. Ethan and the Guardian began training together. He studied its movements, learning how it interpreted commands and signals. The Guardian, in turn, seemed to learn from Ethan, understanding subtle hints, anticipating human needs, and even showing signs of protective behavior toward specific colonists. The bond between them grew stronger, based not only on trust but on mutual understanding. One night, as they rested near the cliffs, Ethan looked up at the stars. He thought about Earth, the planet he had left behind, and the humans who had spread across the galaxy. Despite their small numbers and fragile bodies, humans had a unique gift, the ability to adapt, to think, to feel. The Guardian had chosen him because of this, not in spite of it. Humans were not the strongest creatures in the universe, but they were capable of extraordinary things. Suddenly, the Guardian's eyes flared bright, drawing Ethan's attention. He followed its gaze and saw a distant shimmer in the sky, not natural, not from any known ship or weather pattern. Something was coming, something far larger and more powerful than the scavenger drones. Ethan's heart raced. This would be a real test, not just of the Guardian's power, but of humanity's ingenuity and courage. The next day, the colony buzzed with preparation. Structures were reinforced, supplies were gathered, and the colonists worked tirelessly. Ethan and the Guardian coordinated defenses, practicing strategies and refining communication. The Guardian's awareness of the environment was astonishing. It could detect subtle vibrations, analyze the terrain, and predict potential threats. Ethan marveled at its intelligence, realizing that humans and this Guardian together could face almost any challenge. Even with all this preparation, Ethan felt a nervous excitement. He had never imagined himself as a hero or leader, but the Guardian had chosen him, and that choice demanded action. Together, they were no longer ordinary. They were a team capable of defending the colony, and perhaps proving that humans, though small and fragile, could achieve greatness through courage, intelligence, and unity. As evening fell, the distant shimmer in the sky grew larger, revealing itself as a fleet of unknown ships. Ethan felt a mix of fear and determination. He looked at the Guardian, whose eyes glowed steadily, radiating confidence and readiness. "We can do this," he whispered. The Guardian seemed to respond, stepping closer, its massive frame a promise of protection. The stage was set for a battle that would test the bond between human and alien, the strength of intelligence over brute force, and the very essence of what it meant to be human in a vast, mysterious universe. And as the ships approached, Ethan realized one undeniable truth: humanity was never meant to stand alone. With the Guardian by his side, they would face the unknown together, a human mechanic and an ancient alien protector, ready to show that courage, ingenuity, and heart could overcome even the greatest of threats. And as the first ships entered orbit, casting shadows over the colony, Ethan knew that their story was only beginning. Humanity had found an ally, a protector, and perhaps a symbol of hope in the stars. The Guardian's eyes glowed brighter, and Ethan felt a surge of confidence. Whatever came next, he would face it, not as a simple mechanic, but as the chosen partner of a being far greater than anything he had ever known. And together, they would show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. The twin moons of Violia hung low over the jagged cliffs, casting silver light across the colony. Ethan stood at the edge of the main platform, the Guardian beside him. The alien protector's massive form towered above the buildings, a living fortress of metal and energy. The distant fleet in the sky grew larger, shimmering with an alien light that made the colony seem fragile and tiny in comparison. Ethan's heart pounded. He had faced threats before: scavenger drones, unstable terrain, and other dangers, but nothing like this. These ships were intelligent, fast, and clearly designed for conquest. Most humans would have panicked, but Ethan felt a strange calm. The Guardian had chosen him. Together they had faced challenges and survived. Now it was time to protect not only themselves but the entire colony. "Stay close," Ethan said quietly, glancing at the Guardian. Its eyes flickered softly in response, as if acknowledging his words. Then, without warning, the alien ships opened fire. Beams of energy streaked through the sky, striking the cliffs and sending debris falling around the colony. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the colonists scrambled for cover. The Guardian moved first. Its massive arms rose, creating an energy shield that absorbed the first barrage of attacks. Ethan watched in awe as the force of the alien fire bounced harmlessly off the shimmering barrier. Then the Guardian stepped forward, its powerful legs striking the rocky ground with authority. Each step sent vibrations through the terrain, forcing smaller drones and enemy scouts to stumble and fall. Ethan shouted directions, pointing to weak points in the enemy formation. "Left side, take out their sensors first." The Guardian responded instantly, swinging its massive arms with precision, smashing through the attacking drones with a combination of brute force and calculated strategy. Ethan realized that intelligence was the true strength here, human insight guiding alien power. The colonists began to watch in amazement. For the first time, they saw a human's courage and mind directly influencing the outcome of a battle. Ethan had always been quiet, unnoticed, but now he stood as a leader, his guidance shaping every move of the Guardian. The aliens might have had strength and advanced technology, but they lacked one thing: creativity, empathy, and the ability to adapt quickly. Hours passed, and the battle intensified. The alien ships coordinated their attacks, attempting to surround the colony and cut off escape routes. Yet the Guardian anticipated every move, responding with speed and accuracy that astonished Ethan. It lifted large chunks of debris, using them as shields and projectiles. It created energy barriers to protect vital structures and guided colonists to safe zones. Ethan noticed that the alien ships were not acting randomly. They seemed to study their enemy, learning with each attempt, but humans could do the same. Ethan began giving complex instructions, combining simple tactics with creative maneuvers. "Now, draw them toward the cliffs," he shouted. The Guardian obeyed, herding the enemy fleet into a narrow canyon where their numbers became less effective. Energy beams struck the walls harmlessly, and the ships were forced to adjust. In the midst of the battle, Ethan realized something important. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, but they had an edge: adaptability. No machine, no alien fleet could match the quick thinking and emotional understanding of a human mind. The Guardian, powerful as it was, needed Ethan's guidance. Together, they were unstoppable. The tide of the battle began to turn. Alien ships faltered under the coordinated attacks of the Guardian and the clever strategies devised by Ethan. Drones were crushed or forced to retreat, while the main ships struggled to find weak points. Ethan shouted again, and the Guardian responded with perfect timing, smashing one of the largest enemy ships against the cliffs. The force of the impact created a shockwave, scattering smaller ships and drones alike. The colonists cheered, their fear replaced with hope. For the first time, they saw what humans could do when courage, intelligence, and determination were combined with the right allies. Ethan felt pride swelling in his chest. He had never sought recognition, but now he understood the truth. Humans were capable of greatness. They could protect themselves, their loved ones, and even the future of their colony against overwhelming odds. But the battle was not over. A massive alien ship hovered above the colony, larger and more advanced than any of the others. Its energy field glowed with destructive power, and its weapon systems were aimed directly at the heart of the settlement. Ethan knew that if it fired, the colony would be destroyed. The Guardian moved forward, raising its arms to intercept the attack. Ethan ran alongside it, shouting directions. "Focus on its shields first. I'll help with the energy alignment." They worked as one, human and Guardian, combining strength and strategy. The Guardian fired beams of energy, while Ethan adjusted the angles and positions, finding a weak spot in the ship's defenses. The alien ship fired back, but the Guardian's shields held. Ethan calculated the timing, predicting the next strike. With a precise combination of power and guidance, the Guardian struck the ship's core. The energy field collapsed, and the massive vessel shuddered before crashing into the cliffs, sending clouds of dust and sparks into the air. The remaining alien ships retreated, their numbers broken, their morale shattered. The colony was safe. Ethan stood beside the Guardian, breathing heavily, his hands covered in soot and dust. Around him, colonists emerged from hiding, cheering, and embracing one another. They had witnessed a human's courage and a bond between species that was stronger than any weapon. Ethan looked at the Guardian, whose eyes flickered softly, almost as if smiling. The bond between them had grown stronger during the battle. It was not just a protector anymore. It was a companion, a friend, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve. Humans were not the strongest or the most advanced, but their intelligence, creativity, and courage made them formidable allies to any being willing to trust them. Over the next few days, the colony repaired the damage from the battle. The Guardian helped tirelessly, moving heavy debris, restoring energy systems, and protecting colonists from dangerous areas. Ethan guided them, teaching new strategies and coordinating work. The bond between humans and the Guardian became a lesson for everyone. Strength alone was not enough. Courage, wisdom, and heart were just as important. Ethan began to explore the Guardian's abilities further. It could manipulate energy, sense threats, and move with surprising speed and precision. More than that, it understood humans in ways that no machine ever could. It responded to emotions, subtle gestures, and even spoken language. Ethan realized that humans and this guardian together could face challenges far beyond the colony, even on a galactic scale. The colonists now looked to Ethan with respect. He was still the quiet mechanic they had known, but they saw him differently. He had faced fear, led during crisis, and proven that humans could rise above limitations. His courage inspired others, and the bond with the Guardian became a symbol of hope for the colony. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the cliffs, Ethan and the Guardian stood together, gazing at the stars. Ethan thought of Earth, the humans who had spread across the galaxy, and the countless challenges they had faced. He realized that humanity's strength did not lie in numbers or brute power. It lay in adaptability, creativity, and the ability to inspire trust and courage in others. The Guardian's eyes glowed softly, and Ethan reached out, placing his hand on its massive arm. He felt the hum of energy beneath his fingers, a pulse that seemed alive. "We did it," he whispered. The Guardian responded with a gentle vibration, as if agreeing. Together, they had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. From that day forward, Ethan and the Guardian became legends in the colony. They were not just heroes, they were symbols of humanity's potential. The bond they shared showed that even in a harsh, alien world, humans could thrive through courage, intelligence, and heart. The Guardian remained by Ethan's side, a protector, a friend, and a reminder that the choices humans make can shape their destiny. Life in the colony continued, but with renewed hope. Humans worked alongside the Guardian, learning from it and teaching it in return. They faced challenges together, whether repairing machines, exploring new areas, or defending against threats. The bond between human and Guardian became a living lesson. Humans may be small, fragile, and limited in some ways, but their mind, spirit, and courage were unmatched. Ethan often stood atop the cliffs, looking at the horizon. He thought of the challenges that lay ahead, the mysteries of Violia, and the endless possibilities of the universe. With the Guardian by his side, he knew that humans were not alone. They could face the unknown, overcome danger, and achieve greatness. And in the quiet moments when the colony slept and the stars shone above, Ethan realized something profound. Humans had always struggled to survive, but they were never meant to be weak. They were meant to adapt, to learn, to inspire, and to rise above. And sometimes, that meant forming bonds with beings far greater than themselves, learning together, and showing the universe what it truly meant to be human. The Guardian's eyes glowed softly in the night, and Ethan smiled. Whatever came next, new challenges, unknown worlds, or distant threats, they would face it together. Humans and Guardian, mechanic and protector, courage and strength. Together, they were unstoppable. Together, they proved that humanity, no matter the odds, could rise above, achieve greatness, and leave a mark on the universe. Ethan placed his hand on the Guardian once more, feeling the pulse of energy beneath his fingers. "We're ready," he said. The Guardian's lights flickered warmly, a silent promise of protection and partnership. And as the colony slept peacefully under the twin moons, the first chapter of a new era had begun, one where humans could shine, not because they were the strongest, but because they were brave, intelligent, and capable of extraordinary bonds. The galaxy had taken notice.